Good evening and welcome to WOSFL Weekly. Delighted to be back live on Sunday night. Big thanks to everybody that's watched the last couple of weeks' shows and kind of bared with us when I was out taking the mick, basically celebrating my birthday. So thanks to everybody that watched the shows. We really appreciate it. But you can't beat being live on a Sunday night at 7 o'clock. And what I guess we've got to come back, he's even got the memo to make sure he wore a black hoodie. So delighted to be joined by Vale Clyde manager John Hughes. John, how are you?
I'm good, mate. Thanks. I'm good. Always like to come on and help the show. It's been a wee while since I've been last on, so no, it's good to come on a Sunday night and talk a wee bit about yesterday's games. It's happened.
Aye, and it's funny because we're through at Prestonfield for the Linlithgow Clyde Bank game. We did the Saturday football live from Prestonfield yesterday, which was great. And we were obviously following the results. And we'll come on to it and we'll talk about it. But we saw your one and it was a bit kind of eeksy peeksy. And then it seemed like something happened. We checked the social media and then all of a sudden it was like 7-1. And I think if you watch it back, I said to PG, Vale Clyde's up 7-1, and he's like, no, it was like one each, about 10 minutes to go or something. But you must be a happy guy after yesterday.
No, definitely. I think the first half, to be fair, Cosaith Athletic, they hit the bar in the first minute, inside the first minute, but after that we controlled it. They were dangerous in the break. They've got some good forward players. Definitely got some good players in the team, and they were pretty much playing on our counter. We were kind of controlling the play, and we missed a penalty, and then we created some really good opportunities, and we eventually score. Sav scores with a header. After that, we've got in behind them a few times, and balls across the box. They're throwing their bodies in the line, and it could have been a few more at half time. And then similar to the first half, we came out the second half. We didn't start well at all, and they equalised. And I think I gave them a few words at the side, and we then just clicked up a few gears, and we were pretty ruthless. It was a bit like last week. We're at Neilston, but it was a kind of different performance yesterday. Whereas in the second half, we some of the goals we scored were really good, similar to last week. And as you say, I think it was like a 10-15 minute spell. We went for one each to 5-1, 6-1. To be fair, the second goal was pretty lucky because Tiger Lawson's hit it for about 20 yards, and the goalkeeper's allowed it to go through his legs. It was a poor one for him, and they've got a bit deflated from it, we've got lifted from it, and we just kicked on. And I think our fitness and just our quality shone through, and to be honest, it could have been a couple more in the end. And if I was I'd be just looking for the final whistle at one point if had been Cosaith. But no, they've got some good players, and I'm sure they'll do well in that division this season.
Aye, no, brilliant, and we'll go into a bit more Vale Clyde season and things like that in a bit more detail as we go through the show. Just a reminder, everybody that's watching, if you are watching, you want to take part in the show, please give us your comments and questions. Not been here for a couple of weeks, so if you've got anything, even if it's to do with league duty over the last couple of weeks that you want to bring up, then please get in touch. If you are watching either live or rewatching on YouTube, if you can please remember to hit the like button and subscribe to the Pyramid Promotions channel. You'll get all the content that we're putting out. And if you want to help us even more by becoming a member of the channel, it's very much appreciated. Big shout out to our sponsors, Roxburgh Insurance Brokers. If you're needing any insurance needs, get in touch with the guys at Roxburgh. VSN Sport, Gary and the team at VSN will sort your club out with some bespoke teamwork if you need it. And last but not least, GLA Chauffeurs. If you're looking for any executive travel, if you've got anything coming up, then get in touch with GLA Chauffeurs. So, a bit different this week, John, because we had South Challenge Cup rather than league business. So it's a bit of a downer to be coming back. I was expecting to come back, and we've got ramifications all over the place with the league business. But we've got the South Challenge Cup with 60 ties or so across the board. Craig McGee's just put in the chat there. Good to see you again, Craig, that said it's not his favourite competition with zero prize money on offer. I didn't know that was the case, John, that there wasn't any prize money available in this cup. How do you guys look at this cup? Do you just see it as another cup competition, another game you need to try and compete in, or is it one that you have a particular feeling towards?
I don't think there's any particular feel. I think it's quite good, that obviously the Lowland League teams are in it at this point. And last season we had a really good run in it. We beat Caledonian Braves, and they were sitting top of the Lowland League at that point. And to be fair, the club got a lot of real good publicity from it, and we got to the last 16, and I think we were on BBC as well. That show on a view from the terrace on a Friday night. So we were on that, and good publicity. We got to the last 16, played Musselburgh. I think with any cup competition, my whole aim is to be in them after Christmas because it keeps your season going. It's the cups, and it does take away a bit from the league action over the next few weeks, because obviously we've got the Scottish next week, and the West will be a couple of weeks after that, and then we're back into the South, I think, on the 11th of October, I think that's when it is. So it takes away from the league, but sometimes teams maybe need that, to get away from the pressure of the league, and, give maybe other players opportunities to play minutes and things like that, But, yesterday we played the same team as we played against Neilston, because the guys deserve the jersey, and that's kind of the way I'm probably going to go if you're playing, and you're doing well, you're playing,
I think especially if the games are on Saturdays, it becomes a bit different if you start getting midweek games, replays, etc. But I quite like it. I do. I have to be honest. I'm pretty similar to you. I like the fact Lowland League's in it, South of Scotland League's in it. I like the chance for different teams to play against different teams and kind of go up against each other. And we were obviously through at Linlithgow v Clyde Bank yesterday, and the crowd was phenomenal through there, as you can imagine, well over 1,000 at that game, and getting an idea of those two top teams in the Lowland League going against each other. It was good, but as you said, league business, it can affect you in some ways. Like, we're the same down at Maybole, so we finally get off the mark, beating Ashfield last week, and now we've got 2 weeks with no game just because of the cups, and we're obviously out the South Challenge and out the Scottish Communities Cup. And then
this season as well, though, the difference this season is the games are now played straight to finish at penalty kicks in all the competitions. So, there's no that replay aspect of it as well, or going to extra time and whatever,
Aye, definitely. I'll send the results across the bottom of the screen now, just to premise this. I haven't included games that didn't have any West involvement, so because I've only got 1,000 characters and I can't fit 60 games, and I've also had to shorten a lot of the team names, so you'll probably see there's a few nicknames thrown in there, but hopefully you can all work out who's who. But we'll have a look at some of the games, and I suppose I know we spoke a wee bit about your game, John, at the start there, but 8-1, you can't really ask for much more in that cup competition. Like you said, we played Kilsyth a couple of weeks ago, and I agree with you. I think they're a decent enough side. But 8-1, and then after a 6-0 victory away to Neilston last week, you must be pleased with how the last couple of weeks are going. That must be really positive for you.
Yeah, we've been pretty much firing all cylinders in terms of middle to front. I've been asking for the boys to be really much better in the final third and show their quality, and they have done it. We've kind of changed slightly how we're playing in terms of our shape, and I did that towards the end of last season, how we were kind of front three are playing, and it's kind of worked the last 2 games, and it's been good because our strikers are scoring. We managed to get all the subs on last week. We managed to get all the subs on yesterday, so it's keeping the squad pretty much part of it. We do have a few injuries at the moment to key players. There's no getting away from it. There's a couple of guys who started the season really strongly for us. Have been injured the last 2-3 games. So the guys have come in and stepped up in the subs. Kieran came on yesterday and scored 2 goals coming off the bench as well. So no, it's been pretty positive, and I just hope we've not used all our goals in the last 2 games. That's my worry.
No, fingers crossed. I did speak to Aaron Conley as well, coach at Kilsyth Athletic, and he just kind of reiterated what you were saying just there, an abysmal 30 minutes to finish the game after competing really well and managing to get themselves level. Said you guys were ruthless and punished them, but they were a bit disappointed with their ability to recover from a bit of a sticky spell in the game. And it says a wee bit of a wake-up call as to what can happen if you're not on it. And I think for them, like, they're obviously new in the job. They've got a new team after Baillie Hanlon left at the end of last season. I think finding that ability to bounce back if things don't go your way, particularly in games. And I know I've spoken to you about the Darvel game, sticks in my head, particularly when you guys came back. That can be a difficult thing to get into a team. And sometimes, do you think that's down to a manager, or do you think that's more down to personalities of players on the park?
I think it's probably a mix, to be honest. We've got good experienced players. You know, I have got a lot. I mean, last week there was 9 under 25 that played against Nielsen. I think 7 of them were under 23. So, but we do have guys like, you know, my captain Stephen McDavid, Robbie Peebles, Craig Gordon, who are, you know, 35 plus. You know, we've got Michael Stokes, who played with Dumbarton, excellent player, who's 36. So we do have the youth, but we also have that experience, and these guys are winners, so they're never going to, you know, if you've got that adversity at points of games, some of these guys drag you through and just pull you through, and they did it yesterday, and then it just clicked. And, you know, Aaron's right in what he said. You know, it was, you know, when they scored, it was a bit sticky, and then we just, you know, we got the next goal, and that kind of probably deflated them, and we just kind of stepped up the gears, and they get a bit ragged, and obviously we scored quite a few at the end.
Mm-hmm. To be fair, having played against them and coached against them, even though I don't know them at all, I think if I was in the trenches, I think Big McDavid would probably be somebody I would want with me.
I've kind of said I'll die in the hill with him, to be fair. So, we'll see.
No, I think he's that type, isn't he? But obviously going on to your season as a whole, John. Now you've started this season, how are you feeling about the start of the season so far?
I think, you know, at the Vale, because we've been pretty successful, you know, the last 2-3 seasons. I suppose winning the third, you know, finishing second in that second division, which was, you know, a fantastic achievement, and then comfortably staying in the league last year. I think we finished 10th, you know, and I think some people maybe get carried away at times, and, you know, but, you know, in that first division, it's like relentless, you know, week in, week out, you're playing against tough teams, and it's easy to say it's about budget. Yeah, a bigger budget should help you, but if you can get the right players in, it doesn't matter if they're on £25 a week or £85 a week. You know, if they're, you know, playing and they're structured and giving everything, and you can mould them together, it can certainly work. But we're season, I think we're sitting in 9 points. We've won 3, lost 5, and a couple of weeks ago, folk were, you know, we're only hit 6 points at that point, or whatever it was, but we're actually 1 game less played this season, and we're actually a point more, because last season we were told that the draws were killing us. But if you think about it, those 9 draws or 10 draws in the league last year, they kept us in the league, going away to teams above us. I think off the top 9 above us, I think only 2 of them beat us. We beat them away from home or drew with them. So, you know,
well, to be fair, John, I think I used to get some stick in my show, because I always used to say how draws were good for teams like yourself that were maybe kind of down the bottom of the league, bottom half of the league, such, and that, as you said, you're no losing games. And I think when you're trying to stay in a division, any points is valuable. And then you went on a wee run towards the end of last season to propel yourselves up.
That's the experience, you know, you speak about. Some of those draws last year, with some of the players I have or had, we would never have got them. So we're sitting 7th in the league. The Muirkirk won a couple of weeks ago. You know, I'm quite friendly with Ross. They were okay in the first half. They had a really good chance. We scored, could have scored again, had one off the line. And we looked as if we were just going to win 1-0, and they scored with 8 minutes to go. And then we've had an absolute shocker of a second goal we lose. And, you know, then we lose the game 2-1. So we could be, in theory, probably sitting 4th or 5th, you know, with that win and maybe a point. Because we started away to St Roch's in the first game of the season, and it took a wonder goal, you know, with, I think, 10 minutes to go to beat us. And to be fair credit, you know, the Rock, they, you know, battened the hatches down and just sat, and, you know, we'd won kind of off the line by the post kind of thing, and played our Drost away. You know, didn't have much of a team that day. They deserved to win. Cumbernauld deserved to beat us thoroughly. But other than that, you know, Irvine Meadow at home, I think we deserved a point that night, to be fair. I thought the first 60 minutes, probably as good as we've played my time at the Vale, against a really, you know, a top team. So, no, we're sitting 7th, and I think we've got Rob Roy in a couple of weeks at home, and then I think we've got a couple of other home games. But we've played 5 away so far out of the 8 in the league. So just take it game by game, as everybody says,
I know. Have you set yourself any aims for this season? Obviously, with the difference with the top 8 going up, have you kind of set targets to try and break into that top 8 and get into the Premier Division next year?
I think we'd love to be in the top 8. I think that's our aim. Is it achievable? I'm not sure. We'll need to see. There's lots of really good teams in the league. It'll be down to the consistency. If we can, get 10, 11 wins, some draws in the road, we could get the top 8. It just really depends. But I think it's potentially a big ask, because there's teams in there that are going to be really pushing for it, and maybe if they get to the turn of the year, they might have a bit of money to spend and maybe bring in a couple of players of quality that will get them in that top 8. But we'll see. We've got a lot of good young players who are really stepping up, and we've got a couple of boys in loan for Johnson brothers who are absolute cracking players, and they're helping. So it's good.
How's Alessandro Savarese settling in? It's probably big shoes to fill, replacing Paul Donaghy. How's he doing?
He's doing fine. He's obviously scored 2 hat-tricks in 2 weeks. Going to lose him next week. He's away on holiday, so
these boys on holidays during the season. What are they doing?
So we'll see how it goes when he comes back in terms of his position in the team. But no, he's fitted in well. He's the type of player I would call he's a Vale player. He's the type of player that I knew, having seen him, when I was at Maryhill managing 9 years ago. I tried to get him then, and he signed for Glencairn, and obviously did really well at Irvine Vics. I think it was like 64 goals in 3 seasons. So for any striker at any level, that's really good. But no, he's fitted in, good in the dressing room. He's a good character. So no, it's been good so far, and he's helped some of the kind of younger strikers like Tyler Wright, who's up front, who's just a buzz bomb and gets in behind strikers with his pace and defenders with his pace and good set pieces and stuff like that. So no, he's been good so far.
Good. And then you've got a nice wee 300-mile round trip next week up to. No, you're at home. Sorry, they've got a 300-mile round trip to come down to you guys. So, hosting Stonehaven in the Scottish Cup. Have you know much about them? Have you?
No, really.
Send anybody up to watch them?
No, I didn't send anybody. We thought about it, but there was nobody really volunteering to take that on. But they've been winning. I know they're obviously in that North Premier up there, and they won 7-0 yesterday. So they'll be making that road trip, and Boyd be that victory, I think, away to Glentanner yesterday. So it's going to be Scottish Cup, the romance. I'm a big believer in the Scottish Cup. When I played in it, I think there's that kind of buzz about it. I know some people talk it down. It's not the same as what it used to be, but I love the Scottish Cup, and next week, we're at home, and I'm expecting us to go and hopefully win, and just the whole thing around about the Scottish Cup.
Aye, I think it's one of those things as well, because you just don't know what you're going to get. Like and it's the same. I'm sure there was lots of teams yesterday in that same boat where you just don't know what's going to come off the bus from Stonehaven, and you've just got to go about your business and try and make it about you. And I always think if you can start well against a team that's travelled for 3 hours or whatever it is, and maybe they're a wee bit leggy coming off the bus, then you can try and start well and get in about them and kind of catch them in the hop and hopefully win the game early doors. Yeah, no, that's a lot of time with him, especially at home. Our home record's been excellent. I mean, it really has been excellent, over the last few years. So we'll be looking to maintain that next week with a fast start and getting at teams, and it'll be the same next week, kind of thing. Sorry, my wee man's just trying to come in the room. Jackson out. Actually, come and get him. That's the first time that's happened. That's the first time that happened. The wee man breaking into the room. Bet you don't get that any other podcast. That's the beauty of live TV, yeah. Live TV, aye. Like I said to you before we come on, I've got a dance show going on upstairs with my daughter, so I know. Tell him to shut up. I know. But I think the Scottish Cup next week coming up. It's interesting. I don't know if you've seen, but Luger had put out a social media post about their tie with Dundonald next weekend, saying that the tie is not taking place because, and I'm using Luger's words here, I think the East won't release them to play in the Scottish Cup, which I thought was a really unusual kind of statement for the guys at Luger to put out. So I got in touch with Kenny Young who, at the West of Scotland Football League. Kenny's brilliant. Any questions or the kind of clarification I need, Kenny's always gets in touch with me. And it turns out, because I just see actually there's a comment there from Craig about the disappointing to see the East of Scotland not giving Dundonald Bluebell the allocated fixture week to play Luger. So Kenny kind of explained it for me in such a way that basically the Scottish Cup is not classed as a primary cup for the East of Scotland Football League, whereas it is in the West and the North and the West, North and Midlands. So basically what happens is when there's Scottish Cup games, the East of Scotland teams then need to rearrange whatever league game it is on that particular day. So if you were playing Rob Roy, you would have to speak to Rob Roy and see if you can change it to a different date. Dundonald haven't been able to do that. I don't know whose fault that is, whether the opponents are not willing to move or whatever. But Dundonald haven't been able to do that. So hence why the reason that the tie doesn't look like it's going to be able to take place next week. Now, what Kenny also said was that Luger were never given, it was never cast iron that this fixture was going to take place next week. It was obviously penciled in, but it was penciled in on the proviso that Dundonald would manage to get this fixture rearranged. And it's interesting because I don't know if you've noticed this, John, but there has been like the odd Scottish Junior Cup game on like the week before or the week after, etc., etc. And that kind of explains it. What he also said was he was looking at the potential of making the fixture on the next South Challenge Cup week, which I think you said was like the 13th of October or round about then, if I'm right. But Dundonald obviously went on and beat Pollock yesterday, so they are now in the next round. So
I think it's 11th of October, aye.
Aye, so that kind of explains it. But it's an interesting, I suppose, the Junior Cup whenever they changed the East and West to Scotland, the Junior Cup then became like a voluntary cup competition, if you like. And obviously the East of Scotland are saying you have to rearrange your league fixtures if you want to play in the Junior Cup. But it's a kind of interesting stance, isn't it?
Yeah. I'm sure there was something, a team who got through last year to the quarters or something pulled out? Was there something that happened last year?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, maybe.
There's something, I'm sure there was something last year similar to that. Circumstances in the Junior Cup, and they couldn't come to an arrangement.
Aye, it'll be interesting to see what happens with that. I think somebody had mentioned on the Luger social medias that they don't want to get sent through there on a midweek or anything like that. But I think Kenny had said, look, that's not even on the table. It's just up to there. Craig McGee's just saying that he thought Bo'ness had to pull out, but actually I think Kenny had said that Bo'ness, I think they played on a Saturday and a Sunday to get that sorted out. So it's a bit of a messy situation. It's a shame for Luger. It's a shame for Dundonald probably if they've been trying to rearrange the tie that they can't get that the league opponents to rearrange the game. But I suppose if you're on the shoes on the other foot, John, if somebody's trying to rearrange with you and you're on a good run and you say, well, no, we're not rearranging. It's not our fault. You're in the Scottish Junior Cup and we'll know. Yeah.
And maybe the league should try and get together and just they solve it. It takes it out the hands of the actual clubs, and they've not got that.
I know. Well, I think that goes back to the fact that it's not classed as a priority cup for them. Where they've got the South Challenge. I don't know if they've got an East of Scotland Cup like we've got a West of Scotland Cup, but they've got the South Challenge, etc. So, it's interesting. It'll be interesting to follow that and see what happens with Luger. But just touching on, you mentioned Muir Kirk yesterday. They're just going through a couple of the results now. In fact, Midtown Sheriff, who I don't know if you want me to give away your alias as Kenny Young, but he's just saying that there's no chance Luger would be sent to Dundonald in midweek. So, and Craig's just saying there's still a bit of politics with East of Scotland in the junior setup, which may be the case, but we don't want to get involved in that. But thanks to Kenny for reaching out to me, and it's great that clarity's there, because if you just went from Luger's social media post, you would have been thinking that the East of Scotland are no letting Dundonald play. Do you know what I mean? That kind of thing. So it's good to get, what they say, there's always two sides to every story, and then the truth's usually somewhere in the middle, isn't it? But again, if we'll go into some of the results, I'll come on to Muir Cup in a bit, but I wanted to touch on Cali Locos, John, against Kilbirnie. New management team in there. I don't know Stevie Marsland in Cali Locos. Do you know Stevie at all? I know Keir obviously really well, but I don't know Stevie. Do you know?
I don't know. I don't think I know him personally, but I've got a good relationship with Dom, so I was speaking to him the other week and had mentioned his name. I think he was at Knightswood under 18s and managed them before, and he was at Cambuslang as assistant manager. But that's pretty much all I know about him. But I know they gave up the home advantage yesterday in the cup to go and play at Kilbirnie because Peasy were playing. I think the Friday night Thistle ladies or somebody was playing in the Friday night at Petershill, so they gave up that home advantage.
I know, and I think that's happened a few times. That they've I don't know if they've had to do it or they've just done it, but that's no a great situation for as a manager, like knowing that could happen. But whether it's because of the Thistle Trust or whatever, do you know that it's not an ideal scenario, knowing that you might not get your allocated home games because you rely on your home games to get points on the board.
Definitely, and obviously the players are familiar with that, with their own surroundings and going away. But I suppose going to Kilbirnie, it's a fantastic surface there, great place to play, great setup. So and
they probably made a wee bit. They would maybe make a wee bit more money than they would have at home. With the Kilbirnie fans.
I did say that to someone, that they've probably got a bigger crowd there. I don't know. I doubt they would have to have paid for the hire of that. They pay for the hire of Petershill, so potentially they may have made more there than they would have had it been a home game.
But a positive result for them, going to Kilbirnie and holding them to a 1-1 draw. It's a good start for them.
Yeah, I think I looked at it today. Kilbirnie were 1-0 up after 54 minutes. They equalised 2 minutes later through Kieran McInerney, and it went to penalties, and obviously Kilbirnie won 3-2. But I was speaking to someone who said that they had chances in the game to win, and they played fairly decent. So whilst it's a defeat, it's a positive performance for the new guys in charge.
You've got to take the positives out of it, definitely. And just on the final bit about Cali Locos, I spoke to Gavin Mackey today on the phone, because we discussed on the show, I think I discussed it on one of the recorded ones, the kind of statement that Cali Locos had put out when Gavin had announced that he was leaving. It was quite a strong statement, the wording of it. So I spoke to Gavin, and he just kind of gave me his side of the story, and completely understandable, and what he was explaining. He was very positive and respectful towards Cali Locos and what they've done for them and things like that. But I think the opportunity to go back and work with Danny at Kilsyth was maybe just a bit too good for him to turn down. And in terms of where he's at, they're maybe looking at it as a wee step up.
Aye, possibly. Kilsyth Rangers have been a club for a number of years. Great pitch there, good training facilities. I think they're well organised and stuff. So, it's probably a good move for Danny and Gav, who I know from my time at Cumbernauld. But obviously Dom and the Cali Local guys were obviously a bit taken aback for that. And I think, as you say, there's two sides to every story and things. That's all I would say on it.
Yeah, absolutely. And then we'll just make up the stuff in the middle, John. That's what we do best. And normally get it wrong, but it's fine. It's fine. It keeps it entertaining. Keeps the viewers up. Definitely. But a good start for Stevie and the guys at Cali Locos, and we'll see how they progress through there. Drumchapel beating Musselburgh, John. I thought that was a great result. Drumchapel had a disappointing result, losing to Troon last weekend, but Musselburgh, who, as we know, were defeated by Clyde Bank in the Lowland League playoff last year. Drumchapel beating them 2-1. That's a really good result for Drumchapel.
I participate. I don't know if you've seen the Pie and Bovril. They do a wee prediction thing. It's a wee kind of competition. So I kind of participate. And I actually took Drumchapel to win 2-1 yesterday night. So, but I seen the highlight. Well, I seen Bradley Rodden's goal to make it 2-0. I don't know if you've seen it yet, but it's an absolute brilliant finish in the half volley for about 20 yards. But Musselburgh are a really, good side. I was going to say stuffy side, but they're a good side, and they've got, good players. So, and obviously they ran Clyde Bank really close last year for the Lowland League, and I think they're sitting second top of that East Premier just now. So, a good win for Hopi and John Black at Drumchapel.
Definitely. No, I don't go on Pie and Bovril, and I'll tell you why, John. So, back when I was coaching, managing, playing, whatever, I used to maybe have a wee look. Probably a wrong thing to do when you're involved in football, I think, is to go on and look. And there used to be this one guy, this one Auchinleck fan, that used to slaughter me at every opportunity, and I don't know why. I've no idea why, but he used to get absolutely tore into me. I think his name was Andy something, and I actually privately messaged him saying what's your problem with me, kind of thing, you know. And he never ever got back to me. But I just thought, no, what am I doing? You know, just keep away from this.
You do get them.
I know. So I've not actually been back on it since. But I'll maybe need to have a wee look and see what's going. But I will not be joining the prediction competition because if MD listens to the Saturday show, they'll know how rubbish I am at that. But great result for Drumchapel. A wee bit of a surprise, I would say. Giffnock beating Tynecastle 2-1. I'm not sure how Tynecastle's season's going, but they're always regarded as one of the better sides through in the East, and for Giffnock to beat them 2-1 at home is really positive.
Yeah, I looked into that one as well. I think Tynecastle down to 10 men after 25 minutes, and I think they played with 9 men for the last 15. But you know, Giffnock winning 2-1. They're sitting fourth in the. Sorry, they're in the fourth division. 1-2, drew 1, lost 4. So really good result for them, you know, yesterday, especially against an East Premier Division team. But it just shows you that, you know, the quality within a lot of the division, all the divisions in the West. You know, there's teams second, third, fourth division who on their D can beat anyone.
Mm-hmm. No, I think so as well, and I think it's as you said, it's a really positive result for the region. I spoke in when it was the senior Scottish week. I think there was only 2 West of Scotland teams went out in the preliminary round of the senior Scottish, which was I think Rutherglen lost to Newton Grange, if I'm right, obviously Girvan lost to Bonneton, which is a kind of double-edged sword, but that was really positive. And I think I just personally love seeing stuff like that. Just like we've got a couple of results to talk about: Knightswood, Neilston, Peasy, all beating East of Scotland clubs, and it's good to see for the region. It shows the strength and depth of the region. Teams like Giffnock beating Premier League teams.
Definitely, no, definitely.
Yep. Speaking about Knightswood, I think that for me, maybe a result of the day. I don't know what you think.
For me, it is the result of the day. I actually put that in my notes. I mean, Gallifreyan sitting 6th in the Lowland League, really strong start to it. So Michael Pender will be absolutely delighted at Knightswood with that. You know, to go and take on. I know they're playing at Rob Roy's facility, which is fantastic surface, big playing surface. So to go and win and beat them, you know, 2-1 yesterday, for me that's probably the result of the day. No, probably the scoreline of the day, but definitely the result of the day in terms of, you know, going and taking Kerry a lone league team. You know, fantastic.
Oh, absolutely. And what I'm talking down my own predictions, but I did actually predict that Knightswood would win that game on the radio yesterday. And I spoke to Michael this morning, and he was obviously delighted. He just says the boys were excellent, fantastic game of football, more than held their own against a good Gala team. Worked so hard as a unit to restrict them, and then when they had the ball, they used it very well. Deserved the win. Amazing day for the club. Really pleased for the squad and everyone connected to the club. Do you think games like that play into Knightswood's hands, because we know they like to play football, and I know that's a feature of the Lowland League, you know? So do you think that maybe plays into their hands a wee bit?
I think so, and especially in the park at Royal Roy. I watched Knightswood in the Kilburnley tournament pre-season, and I was really impressed with them. You know, they've got some good experienced players throughout. You know, Kenny Marshall, sweeper, their goalkeeper's very good. They've got good boys, you know, up front in the wide areas. So, and they try and play for the back. Reece McGillian at left centre back as well, who had at Mary Hill. So they've got real quality. And whilst they're, you know, in that division, I don't think they'll be in that division for too long. I think they'll potentially progress through the leagues.
No, they've just had a wee kind of sticky patch, if you like, the last couple of weeks where they've drawn a few. I think they've drawn 3 out of the last 4. The one they won was in the cup. So I think it's a bit like yourselves, just turning those draws into wins.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
you know?
And I spoke to Chris Wilson last week. They played Dalry, and he said it was a really good game. And you know, I think Dalry had 10 men, and they did really well to, you know, I think they get the draw. I think it was 1 each at the end of that game. So, but no, I think Knightswood will. I think they'll push on, and obviously I think they'll come up within that league.
Oh, definitely. I can't see them finishing outside the top 8 in that division. Okay, moving on. Neilston beating aforementioned Newton Grange 2-1. Neilston, you obviously took care of them quite comprehensively last weekend, but they've been having a good season. I think last week was I think the score line was maybe a bit of a shock. Maybe no necessarily you guys beating them, but I think to go there and win 6-0 was probably a bit of an eye opener. But to bounce back with a 2-1 win at home to Newton Grange is a good reaction for Andy Whiteford and the guys at Neilston.
Andy will be delighted. I think the two guys scored from Dylan Fletcher and Dale McNabb, two really good forward players, and I mean Dale's really good in the air and can hold it in and bring players in. So they got the 2 goals from yesterday. So no, it's a great result and brilliant for Andy to bounce back after the result last week. And down at Neilston, the pitch it was excellent last week. The surroundings, the amount of work they've done round about the place, the home dressing room it used to be is now the away dressing room. They've got a new home dressing room, so they're doing everything off the park, and it's a great result for Andy yesterday and brilliant for him to bounce back.
It's something we've spoken about. I've spoken about kind of ad nauseum on the podcast about teams bouncing back from disappointing results and making sure that doesn't affect you as a manager. Like, what's your kind of technique, if you like, for if you get a really disappointing result like they did last week? And we saw Drumchapel bounce back after losing last week to Troon. Troon bounced back after getting beat off Talbot a couple of weeks ago. Glenafton did it on Saturday, taking care of Yoka. What is the kind of the managerial tricks of making sure that a kind of bad result doesn't linger?
I think basically my philosophy last season was I wasn't going to get too high, with the wins and get too low with the losses. Obviously, there's times in a Saturday night you're like, but I actually have tried not to. And I think, when you get to Monday night in training, after a win, everybody's in, the natural bounce, training's good, everybody's in early, everything's, sharp. But to be fair, in our instance, our training's been really good in both sides. A couple of weeks ago, we lost to Muirkirk, and the Monday night was probably the best session we've had this season in terms of the standard, intensity, and I think the boys were probably just hurting and wanted to try and get it out of them. I think it's having the good players within your dressing room who help you manage that situation as well, and I've been round the block as well, especially the youngins, because some of them folk will say, oh, well, they don't care anymore, they're just, that's it, and they're away. But we're trying to install, certainly at the Vale, and we've done it over the years, like, we need to win, and the kind of expectation is that we need to win, and when we lose, naturally we're absolutely gutted. But as I say, we're trying not to get too high with the wins and too low with the losses. I always say the season kind of goes like that, especially in the first division. I always think you could win 2, lose 3, draw 1, lose 2, win 2 kind of thing. And that's kind of proven with a lot of teams, and you end up getting teams all sitting around about 8 points each other, probably for 13th up to 9th or something, and then even for 9th up to 1st, there's kind of a bunch as well. So no, that's just kind of the kind of principles I've had in the last couple of seasons, because before I just go home and you beat yourself up when you lose, so I'm like, can't affect what's happened. You can only just affect what's going to happen the days to come, and you wake up on the Sunday, that's you just go again, kind of thing.
Aye, and I think with young players nowadays, from my experience, they're maybe not as loud or dramatic outwardly, but yet then you'll see them at training and you can tell that it's affecting them, or you'll see them in a game and you can tell that it's having an effect on them. They'll maybe not do the things that they usually do, or they'll maybe not take that extra touch or try and make that pass and things like that. So I think it's a difficult task for a manager, because you need to really watch out. I'm a big believer in body language. Body language is huge, and I think young players nowadays show 10 times more with their body language than they do with their actual mouth.
Mm-hmm. No, definitely. And you've just got to keep an eye on that. And I've got a good coaching staff, in there. I've got, a couple of experienced guys. I've got a younger guy who had been at Cosaith Athletic and, full of great ideas. And we brought in the player data this season, which is, I work with data and stuff like that all the time in my job, and I've got to look at that kind of stuff. But it's kind of opened my eyes a wee bit. Obviously I'm kind of, I'm going to say old school, but you can see if a player's playing well. I believe you can see if somebody's doing the hard yards. But like, to give an example, compared to the Muirkirk game, we played Neilston last week as a group. They ran 12k or 14k more as a group. So, and we got our rewards through it. So, you can see, the effort that guys put in, and if people are dropping, we can look at the stats and training. The boys look at it and see if somebody's dropped. There's kind of what they've done for the previous week and whatever.
How much time does something like that take to analyse that and to put it into manageable information for the players? Because it is something that I think more and more teams, I think a lot of teams are using it at our level now, things like the VO cameras and things like that. And how much have you got, like a dedicated person, or because we know that this is a hobby and we've all got jobs and things like that, you know, and sometimes I just wonder how much time have you got to actually sit and do that?
It's David, my coach. He downloads all the reports and sends them into our management team chat. And between him and DD Guy Declan, it's come in for Clyde. They kind of look at it and they kind of pick out the salient points and they speak to players individually, and they'll send them snapshots of what they've done, intense sprints, you know, the care they've done in a game, what they've done in training, what was it compared to last week, that kind of stuff. So they do that. I'm not saying we spend hours on it. We don't take them away as a group and talk. Well, maybe last Monday night I spoke, well, you ran 14k more than you did against Muirkirk and we won 6-0. So, and some of the stats, you know, one of our players ran 12k that day. It was incredible, played him in 2 positions, and, you know, somebody said he was unplayable. So, you know, just you can see it in your eyes, but it's good just to have that to back up what you're actually seeing visually.
No, absolutely. Speaking about Muirkirk, they had a really good win yesterday against Whitburn. I spoke to Ross this morning. He just said it was a good contest, I think, against the top side. Started well, had a few early chances, get pegged back not too long after going in front, but responded well to go in 2-1 up at half time. And then they missed a couple of opportunities in the second half and then had to dig in. It's probably one of those ones where you probably feel you're comfortable, but when 2-1's a horrible scoreline because you get towards the end of the game, you're trying to dig in. But a great result for them.
I spoke to Ross last night, and I just basically said that, you know, they went ahead, and then the last kind of 15-20 minutes they really dug in and just dug out the result kind of thing. And, you know, they've got really good players. Muirkirk, he's kept that core that he kind of brought for the bench the last few seasons. He's added to it. Boyd Doyle at the back, and Sean Fraser, who's, you know, a fantastic player. He was excellent against us a couple of weeks ago. So no, they've got real good quality, and Ross is one of the guys I would say I like. You know, one of the other managers I like. Don't say I like all of them, but I like Ross is a good guy. So,
I don't give us your list of managers you don't like. That'll be interesting. Makes me interesting telly. We just got a wee comment for Craig there, just saying it was a good result for Rutherglen, beating Thorneywood. They were in good form despite being a league below. I did speak to Adam Coakley, the Thorneywood manager, this morning, and he just kind of said that they did well first half, and then second half they just weren't at it at all, and they just couldn't get going at all in the second half, and then they've kind of been defeated obviously by Rutherglen. But I thought Thorneywood could go there and cause a wee upset, but Rutherglen sound as if they've just been really professional, come out and had a good second half and won the game.
Yeah, I met actually Joe Price at the Get a 20s game on Friday night, and he was saying he's actually bringing a couple of 20s in to the squad yesterday. But no, it's a great result. I actually watched the highlights today, and I think they were 1-0 down, and they went on. Ryan McManus scores a fantastic free kick, scores a penalty, and they score 2. But to be fair, the Thorneywood keeper had some brilliant saves. So no, a great result for Glencairn and Joe.
Yep, and just going back to the East v West, I know Sauchie aren't maybe the team that they once were, but Peasy beating them 6-1, I thought it really caught my eye.
I thought that would have been a lot closer when I kind of did my predictions. But then I seen Sauchie have not really started the season well. They played 8 games.
Not won a game yet.
No, 3 draws, and thought Peasy would win. But no, it's a great score. He scores 6 goals, you know. Can't take that for granted, you know, when you're scoring so many goals. So no, great for Peasy and for the guys up there to get that win.
Yep, no, really good result. Like you said, Sauchie, I think they got stung with that big point deduction last season, and I think it's maybe a wee bit of a hangover for that. There's maybe been a wee bit of an adjustment to their squad, etc. But still a positive result for the guys at Petershill. Auchinleck keep motoring, going to Troon and winning 5-2. As they did last time when they went to Troon and won 5-2, and I was there to watch it. But just keeps going, doesn't it? The Talbot train just keeps going.
And that juggernaut just keeps going on. You know, I actually watched the highlights of the day, and they were 4-0 up, 5-1 up. Finishes 5-2. The boy Kyle McAvoy scored 2. I mean, we played against him a couple of years ago for Bonington, and could see that he stuck out. And I know a few teams are after him. He signed for Talbot, but he's been a great sign for them. He scores lots of goals. He seems to score every game. And Luke Main just looks as if he's played there all his days. Just scores again yesterday with a header, and he just looks as if he's got that presence in the middle of the pitch. He just looks a Talbot player, if you know what I mean. He just looks as if he's been there for a while.
Aye, I think Auchinleck went 2-0 up pretty quickly, I think, within the first kind of 10-15 minutes. And I think after the last game at Portland Park that I was at, they'd probably been wanting to keep it tight early doors and try and grow into the game, and losing those early goals. It just, everything you work on during the week just goes out the window if you lose a couple of early goals, doesn't it?
Oh, definitely. I mean, especially against a team like Talbot, because they're just relentless. They'll just keep going, and even if you get one back, as they did yesterday, they just got up the park and probably score again to make it 5-1. And it's a different kettle of fish playing. Some of these teams like a team like Talbot, and with the management duo they've got, the Tucker and that, they just power on, and the start to the season for them has been incredible. So, at the moment they look as if they're, certainties probably to win that Premier Division if they keep going the way they're going and don't get any injuries and things like that.
I know. I said that on the show yesterday, that until it shows signs of slowing down, you can't back against them in any game, and they're not just beating teams apart from the Beath game, where I think they won 2-1 or 3-1. But apart from the Beath game, it's just keeps going. They've scored four or more in each game. Yeah. It's incredible.
They beat Vale 7-1 last week, and it could have been a few more.
No, it's crazy. And I can't wait for the Talbot Cumnock game on the telly. It's brilliant again for the region, John, that they're putting that on the TV. And we spoke about it a wee bit yesterday. I just hope both sets of fans behave, probably, because we've seen the negative side of it, but thankfully no for a few years. Yeah. But it's great for the region that the Beeb are putting that on the TV.
Brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant. It just showcases, the whole west of Scotland, and as you say, hopefully it's shown in a good light Friday night under the lights, and a massive crowd, and there'll be a lot of interest in it. So it can only be good for the west of Scotland, our game, and promoting that across the whole of Scotland and maybe the UK. Folk tune in for there.
Yep. Moving on, Dundonald scored in the last minute to beat Pollock 3-2. Spoke to Josh Gardner, the coach at Pollock. He says they were 1-0 down after 5 minutes. Felt it was a foul, but
I think it was.
Was it?
Aye.
Was it? Right, okay. They replied soon after with a good goal. Poor defending for their second goal. Replied soon with a great header for Jordan Layden. Then they scored the last kick of the ball. There was a wee bit of debate whether it was over the line.
I think it's difficult to tell. No, I'm kind of probably Josh in that, because the first goal for the Donald is for me it's a foul all day. The boy is running through, fouls the Pollock defender, gets through and scores, and then the third goal, I think it was the 93rd minute, striker number 9 cuts in on his left foot right in the edge of the box at the D, hits a shot. The Pollock keeper should definitely, he'll feel he should do better with it. It touches it onto the post, squims onto the post, should save it, but he gets back. I'm not sure. As kind of zoomed in, and you can't really see if the full ball's over the line. So I don't know if the linesman or the ref seen it a lot clearer, but when you zoom in on it, I'm not sure.
I know it's difficult. It's so difficult. It's such a difficult thing. You're going to make that snap decision, but it's such a big. I don't know. It's such a big call to say goal rather than not, if that makes sense. So I think if you're going to give the goal, you need to be 100% sure. And maybe he was, and maybe he's just made an error. Maybe it was over the line. We don't know. But it's such a big call to make to say goal.
We did the same thing a few weeks ago against Darvel. Our fourth goal to make it 4-3. Sandro Zavarez's hit the shot. It's kind of scrummed out the goalie's hands, and the goalie's running back. So the ball's bouncing up at the top goal to Vale, and he's kind of clawed it out on the line, or just over the line, and the ref gives it. And I was like, delighted, obviously, because it's like 93rd minute or 90th minute. But when I spoke to the Darvel goalie after it, I think he gave it away that he thought it was in. So fair play to him when he said that. He wasn't saying it wasn't in.
You don't say that at the time, but after it, you go, it was in. But you're not.
One of our supporters, it was kind of on the far side. She thought it was in as well, so she said it was in. So fair enough. But it's difficult. But I think the linesman yesterday. So if the linesman's made the call and seen it, or the ref, I'm not sure.
I don't know if that makes it better or worse, to be honest. But I mean, being a referee on your own is it wouldn't be for me. Put it that way, it's no for me. But I'll rattle through some of the. So I spoke to a fair few managers today, John, as well, just as I normally do on a Sunday. Ironically, hardly any of the games that we've actually spoken about, but we'll rattle through some of these pretty quickly. Ardea had a really good result against Carluke, which I thought was one that could probably have went either way, but Ardea took care of them 3-1. I spoke to Sean Kenny and Thomas Devine, both managers. He was just saying that they was really pleased with them. They stuck to the game plan. They know Carluke are a good side, had a good spell at the start of the second half. Then they got a grip of the game. Their goalie made a save early doors, and then after that, he doesn't have to make another one. But he's delighted with because of how highly he rates Carluke. That they had to be at their best to beat them, and he feels it's probably their best performance of the season. And Thomas, on the other side, was just saying that Ardea probably deserved the win. Both teams created plenty of chances with more of an open game than they've been involved in recently. They said that they rotated the team a wee bit, and it naturally impacted some of the structure. Good value for money, as it always is. Positives was getting minutes into some lads ahead of a tough stretch of games. So sounds like a good game. And he's just saying young Conor McIntyre. I don't know Conor, but he looks to have picked up a bad injury. So good luck, all the best to Conor in his recovery. But sounds like a good game. And Ardea as the higher level team taking care of business, because it could have been a banana skin.
No, definitely. Because Carluke they've started the season really well, and I know they went through in the Big Scottish as well. So Thomas has got them playing really well this season. He's recruited really well, for that division. There's players that he's brought in that could be playing higher. But Sean's got Ardea the last 3 seasons or so, and he's got them really well structured. And they've won some really big games this season as well. So no surprise. I'd maybe have took that as a draw yesterday if I was being honest. But it could have went anywhere. But it looks as if Ardea's won quite convincingly in the end, 3-1.
I just done the business. And talking about the senior Scottish, so Carluke play Gretna 2008 in the senior Scottish, and I'm hopefully going to have Thomas on the Sunday after that to have a good chat about it. And Craig's just saying that Auchinleck go to them this Saturday in the junior Scottish. So Thomas will probably be hoping that the wind machine's on up at the John Cummins Stadium to try and disrupt Auchinleck a wee bit. But in terms of the senior Scottish, I think that's a winnable tie for them against Gretna.
I think so. I know Clyde Bank played them last week, and I think it took 2 late goals. One was a penalty for Nick Little to win that 2-0. But no, I think Gretna have improved since last year, because I think they were pretty poor last year, if I'm right. But Carluke could go there and win. Aye. Mm-hmm.
I know, and I hope they do, because it'd be unbelievable to have a 4th division team in the second round of the senior Scottish. That would be brilliant.
Yep.
Get a bit of money behind them as well. I spoke to Dean Keenan. Girvan had a disappointing result. They lost 2-1 at home to Crossgates Primrose. I don't know too much about Crossgates, but I did speak to Dino, and he was very hard on himself, John. And I don't know if this is maybe a managerial thing. He was kind of just indicating that he felt that the preparation going into the game wasn't the best. That they had. I know they played a friendly on Tuesday and they didn't train otherwise, other than that. And I think he just felt that maybe he didn't prepare the team as well as he could. And I think for a young manager, I think it's really good that he's looking back with that self-reflection. But as a manager, I think it's important that you look back and you analyse yourself as well as not just saying the players.
No, I think you've got to be... You say self-reflection. I mean, I reflect on a lot of things before, during, and after games, and what I could do differently. And it's probably natural for the management. I mean, there's times I've taken, the heat for the players, and I've blamed myself, whether it's team selection, how we've prepared, what we've done in training, etc. I mean, last Wednesday night, training was an absolute washout. I mean, we were obviously training Astro, but the weather, we had a whole session planned, particularly for yesterday's game, on certain things, but you couldn't have the guys standing about. So we ended up we done a warm-up, we done a passing drill, and we just gave them a game. And we actually cut it short, I think 10, 15 minutes before the end. We couldn't go through, we normally go through how we were going to set up, how we were going to play. Couldn't do that, nothing like that. And we do that plan last Wednesday. But Dino will be obviously reflecting, and I know the type of guy he probably is. He's just going to be beating himself up and thinking about it. But you can only take what happened last week and make changes for the future. You can't do anything about it now. It's done. So just when you go the next time, next cup game, whatever, you know how to prepare. You know how to prepare differently. But he's played at a great level, so he'll know. Managing is obviously different, but he'll learn for it, and he knows enough about the game to make the necessary changes the next time.
Aye, and knowing Dean like I do, he's one of my good mates, and nobody's harder on himself than Dino. But I think it leads on to an interesting question for me, John, is, see, when you get to this time of year and maybe you've got boys that aren't even playing and you think, well, we'll get a friendly midweek, but then that can then disrupt everything during the week, like you're saying. So if they normally train Monday, Wednesday beside us, and they've played Tuesday, so you then ask the boys to come in the next night, etc. So I think it's that balancing act between, you maybe need a friendly, but I think training's, it can get, sometimes you feel like you need a freshen up, so let's have a friendly, but I think you also need that training time on the pitch as well.
I'm a big advocate. I try to get at least one friendly, maybe every 6 weeks. I see between November and February, games are off, things like that. So I think try and keep involved, try and get a friendly once every 6 weeks between the November, maybe February time, keeps everybody involved. But it's difficult because you can't get, pitches, that's it. Pitches are into a third, and unless you go, and I have been offered, a couple of teams have offered me, games on Tuesday night, and I've just not taken them. We played Mary Hill a few weeks back at our pitch at the Vale, and we did a 7 o'clock kickoff, and I brought a few players into the team, and I think it was 3-0 we won, but it was a really good game. I mean, it was a really good game. Both teams played some, great football for a friendly. Mark thought it was a really good game as well. I think we got, both of us got a lot out of it. But for me, probably for us, because we won and we went up, we're 5-0 up after 46 minutes last week, allowed me to get the subs on, allowed me to get them involved. And obviously we'll get a few injuries now. So these guys, there's probably 3 or 4 that could be in the squad, and these guys who are on the bench might not be, or on the starting might not be even in the squad. It's keeping them all together. Same yesterday, we managed to get minutes in the 5 subs, which is good. And I've got a potential opportunity, a friendly in a few weeks, but it needs to be a Wednesday or a Monday night, because there's a couple of guys who have got certain things on a Thursday. I'm just not going to change it. I'm not going to change it. So Monday, Wednesday, and then we'll see, into the Saturday. But it's really up to players. Players need to play well, and they need to train well to get into the team. I'm not going to kind of mince my words when that. Players need to perform. Players need to do what they need to do to get into the team. So it's up to them. They can only try and impress me and get into the team doing that. So I try and get friendlies, but they need to work hard equally at the sessions during the week, because nothing's a given.
Aye, no, absolutely. If you're not playing, then do better to get yourself in the team.
Definitely.
Simple as that. Listen, just quick wee shout out for Jordan Rennie, who's contributed a wee £10 to the coffers of the Pyramid Promotions. He says, "Tell John I miss him as well." So Jordan's saying hello. He also says you're a top gaffer, seriously underrated. So wee fan club going on tonight, John.
No, Jordan, he does the social media for East Kilbride in the Lowland Leagues. Great guy. Came into us for about 4 months last year and did the social media, and it was on a different level, and he ended up going to Raith Rovers, doing their social media. Great guy. His content's, fantastic in terms of just during the match, pre-match, after the match kind of thing. And he made my job a lot easier last year. And in terms of the profile of the club, his content, you know, in terms of getting sponsors and just the general feeling that the players buying into it, you know, he's a good guy.
Well, to be fair, John, you're the first guest that's brought money into the show, so
commission.
You're now firmly at the top of the tree in terms of guests. So you can come on anytime. I'll have you on every week. If Jordan wants to give us a tenner every week, I'll have you on every week if you want. But thanks very much, Jordan. Listen, I'm sure PG will really appreciate it, and I really appreciate it. So thanks very much. It is much appreciated. Talking about Maryhill, you mentioned them there. They had a really good win yesterday, 7-1 against Vale. I spoke to Mark Young, and he was just saying, just cup football into the next round, main outcome, 7 goals. No clean sheet though, so he knows how unhappy that makes him. We managed to rotate some of the squad, glad to get minutes in the lad, and good impact off the bench and onto Pollock next week. But great result for them, 7-1, brilliant.
Aye, no, very good result. Also had a couple of years at Maryhill myself, you know, years ago. But Mark, you know, he's been there a few years now, and he's done really well. He's done well in terms of, you know, he's pushed them on a lot of stuff behind the club in terms of off the park. He's done a lot there, you know, basically himself, and the others come in, and I think his influence there has certainly helped that. And he's got a really good team. He's got, you know, I think he's got a lot of loyal players, a bit like myself. He's got a lot of loyal players that he probably brought for Beef 20s and things like that. So they're quite loyal to him, and there's a nucleus there that's been with him. So I hope for Mark's sake, I hope they do well this year and just keep pushing on.
See, we scored goals as well, which is as we've said, is a real positive for any team. But they always seem to be they know where the back of the net is.
I mean, the boy Connor Hamilton up front, really like him. He's got a bit of everything. He can hold it up. He'll run in behind. He's no bad in the air. He's got a good bit of strength about him, kind of thing. And they've got good wide players as well. They've got a good rounded team, you know. And you know, I think he's getting that. I think he's getting that consistency in recent games. I think that was his kind of bugbear kind of last season. They would maybe win 2, lose 3, win 3, lose. So, but I think this season, I think maybe after a couple of games at the start, I think they've really picked up, and hopefully just keep pushing on for Mark.
Aye, the turnaround in them last season from where they were at Christmas to finishing the season, and then they've carried that on into this season. I think they've got 25 goals in 7 league games, so you can't really ask for much more than that. So well done to them. Les Mahago beat Royal Albert 3-2. Battle of the best mates, I think. Daryl Meikle and Connor Whitelaw, best pals. So I was talking to Connor, he was saying about how he's going up against his best pal, and Connor was just saying that he thought the boys were excellent. Found themselves 2-0 down after 20 minutes. Gave away a soft penalty and a world-class finish for Dylan Collins. They played some good football, got it back to 2 each, missed a chance right on half-time to go in 3-2. Minute into the second half, Les Mahago scored another good long-range goal. Felt they controlled the second half, couldn't get the equaliser. Couldn't ask for any more against a good Gous side. Proper derby, felt played the right way in front of a really good crowd. So I was pleased with his result. His performance rather than the result. But they've come onto a game after a wee bit of a sticky start, Royal Albert. But again, Daryl and his boys at Les Mahago still undefeated this season. Really good start to the season. Three wins, 3 draws. So, but still undefeated.
I was speaking to someone today who said that Royal Albert would have been value for a point, especially the kind of second half performance.
A point in the cup, John.
Sorry, a draw. A draw. Rose the cup ties. Aye, so it probably deserved a draw potentially at the end. But Les Mahago, I mean, Daryl's brought in a number of players, and I think they've spent a wee bit of money in getting players in there. So I think the boy Collins came for Cali Locos, you know, decent striker. Obviously scored in his debut as well. So good start for him.
Yep, definitely. Just new management team, obviously, in at Clyde. Good start for them, beating Bonneton 3-0. I did ask Ian Waite, who's my contact at Bonneton, the coaches, for any thoughts, and he just wrote back saying, "I've got lots of thoughts, but let me think of how to make them appropriate." And he's not replied yet, so there's obviously a few inappropriate things in there. But good start for Danny and Gavin at Clyde, beating Bonneton, who are in the same league, 3-0.
No, I think getting off first game as a management team in a new club, getting off to good starts is what you're looking for. It gets that kind of monkey off the back right away and takes pressure, but it takes the pressure off of getting that first win under your belt. So no, good for Danny, good for Gav, and getting into the next round of the cup. They'll give them that time and it allows them to see their team yesterday and what they've got at their disposal and where they need to improve.
Mm-hmm. Yep, Atherley beat Whitlets 3-2. Whitlets actually went in front in that game. I spoke to Graham Neal, Whitlets manager. He was on holiday in Portugal and still get back to me, so got to love that commitment. I really appreciate it. He was just saying that quality in the final third was the difference, bar Healy, Big Taylor up front. Although it was a penalty that separated the sides, you could see their quality. And sometimes that is the difference, especially when you play against these Premier League teams. You give them any sniff and then it's game over.
I mean, the quality, the boy Mark Taylor came through the armies and he's been at Athlete now a few seasons. His power, strength, just his physique to get, in behind, holds it up, good in the air. And the boy Aaron Healy, wide left, he normally plays for Athlete. He should be playing at a higher level as well, I think. He's a fantastic player. And when he played against us last year, particularly in the second game at the Vale, he was unplayable that day.
Mm-hmm. Yep, and speaking of quality, Johnston Borough win 4-0. Spoke to Greg Mitchell, the coach, said 0-0 first half, but could have been 4 each. Both teams missing chances. Second half, we talk about quality. They bring Mason, Kerr, Lafferty off the bench and then win 4-0. He says Arliston's a good young team, but when you can get to half time and you can bring those guys off the bench, then it's just that is what it is, isn't it?
It's just the difference in quality that you're bringing on, and it doesn't matter what level you're at. If you're looking to your bench and you're trying to bring on guys, that are they going to make a difference? You're hoping, whereas these guys are proven and they're going to make a difference as teams get tired and whatever else as the game goes on. So no, great to have some guys like that at your disposal.
Oh, it's not a bad problem to have, is it? Just last couple, St Anthony's lost 2-0 at home to Kirkcaldy and Dysart. Spoke to Martin Montgomery, St Ant's manager, just said lost a cheap goal due to indecision at the back, and their second came for good play. Felt they were denied a Stonewall penalty at 1-0 and maybe should have had another one. Sent the better side in the second half, couldn't capitalise, but it's going to be a tough one. But there's some positives from the second half display, and it's been a difficult start to the season for the Ants. And sometimes it sounds like it was one of those games where when you're having a difficult season, that it sounds like one of those games that you have when you're struggling a wee bit.
Yeah, I mean, I know. I don't know the guy Mark is into Anthony. I've seen a few of his interviews and stuff, and I know they've had. I don't know if they've won a game yet. To be fair,
no, they haven't.
In that league so far. So it's also a tough time, and you just need to have that, that resolute determination to get that result in the next game. But as you say, if you're, things are going against you, you're not getting a rub of the green. It does seem to happen when you're down there. But the Ants, great club, some great people at that club in the Vale, and the Ants have got a long-standing friendship, with the committees and stuff. So when we play them, it's just carnage between the committees. I just leave, kind of thing, because it's just leave and want to get on with it, kind of thing. But no, I hope the Ants, get some results and Mark get some wins for them.
Yep, just a couple to go. Whitehall Welfare played Greenock. Gary Fleming, Greenock manager, spoke to him. They drew 1 each, and then Greenock won in penalties. He said they played very well. Didn't know if they maybe underestimated them a bit, being a second division club, but he felt they were better in every department. Took penalties to win the game, but it would be an injustice if we didn't. Come on all the way next week in the Scottish Junior Cup, which should be a challenge, but feels their side's a match for anyone on their day. Academy graduate Craig Darrick scored the decisive winner with a hop in his run-up. How are you thinking about that?
Not sure about that.
So, to be fair, he's putting that in brackets as well. He's saying he's not a fan, thinks he's watching too much telly.
Bruno Fernandes, he does that.
I know. Just get your head down and put the laces through it, pals. But I know a good result for them. Whitehall Welfare obviously done in the Lowland League a wee while ago, but it's a good result for the region. Seeing Greenock against them.
I think it's not just like yesterday, even last season, some really positive results for the West, and you know, some really, you know, good teams littered through all the divisions, not just the Premier, you know, first, second, third, fourth, getting results. So it just shows you, you know, we do have that kind of strength in the depth of the league. And on a one-off game, you know, you can beat anybody, potentially.
Yeah, I did message Barry McColgan, the BSC manager, who they lost 3-2 to Fnac in a friendly. I just send them the text out to everybody, as you know, you'll have got it plenty of times on a Sunday, but he did send me a picture of the goalie scored. The goalie scored a goal for his own half. One of those ones where he's launched it and it's bounced over the opposition goalie and went in. But I think the job that Barry's done at BSC, turning them around from where they were last year, is incredible so far. And I know they didn't play yesterday, but I think it's worth a mention.
I know they were down bottom of the league for most of the season, weren't they? And had a really rough time yet. So to go in there and kind of turn their fortunes around and, you know, get them into a healthy position in leagues, definitely, you know, some good work there so far anyway.
I definitely, and I think that's everybody that I've messaged that's kind of got through to me, and again, thanks to all the managers out there for getting back to me. Even when I text you when you've had a difficult result, I'm always kind of a bit apprehensive, but I just think to hell with it, we'll just send it out and we'll see. I always say you can ignore it if you want to understand. But standout result for me, Stirling Uni 15, Mid Annandale 1. Have you seen the likes?
No, for a long while, I don't think. I know you sent me that today. That was going to be we're going to speak about the end, but apparently,
I wasn't expecting massive analysis. I'm just
boy Thomas Vonk scored a 10-minute hat trick, and he scored 6 in the second half. So, I think that result probably beats them all in terms of a scoreline for yesterday. 15-1.
I know. Have you ever been on the receiving end of such a scoreline, or been on the winning side, such in a scoreline like
that? I don't know if it was 15, but I think back in amateur, I managed the amateur team. We might have won by 12 or 13, maybe back then, years ago.
Aye. You've got some job as a manager trying to pick your team up after getting beat 15-1.
I know. I mean, how do you react to that on the Monday? And you know,
I think you just chalk it up and ignore it and try and move on and try and pretend it didn't happen.
Just that's in the past. You know, it's a difficult one, but geez, you know.
I know. No, absolutely. Right. Okay, I think that's we've covered a lot of fixtures there, John, which is great. So hopefully everybody's enjoyed that. We've just my favourite username from people that comment on the chat on the show regularly is just saying, which is Cycling Chainsaw chap, who's asking if the show will be impacted with the league restructuring. We don't know, to be honest, pal. Is the answer. We may look at covering the Lowland League West and on top of it, because I know a lot of the teams for the West of Scotland will be in it, but we'll just have to wait and see. We've got a lot of football to go before that happens, but we'll see what happens. But we'll still be covering in some shape or form. But John, thanks very much for joining us. As ever, I always think when we get to these cup competitions, because there was no league games, I think, well, maybe it'll be a bit of a shorter show or something. There'll not be as much to talk about. But as usual, you put two guys together that love the game, and then we can talk for another 50 minutes like it's nothing.
I know. It's just what it is, isn't it? That's what it is.
I know. But thanks for coming on, mate. I really appreciate it.
I've really enjoyed it, Jonny. It's good, mate. Thanks.
Yeah, no, definitely. And listen, just one wee thing I want to touch on, which isn't football related, but you've probably seen the news today about Ricky Hatton sadly passing away, and I'm a massive boxing fan. You can see I've got my Muhammad Ali picture behind me, and I just want to make sure that, particularly any young people out there that are watching, if you're struggling, speak to someone, talk to somebody. It'll make a whole lot of difference, and don't suffer in silence. And I think when we're dealing with young men all the time, John, and try to get them to open up about stuff is really important in today's day and age.
No, definitely. And a couple of seasons ago, when I was at Cumbernauld, we brought back on side in. We took the night off training, brought them in, and they did a talk. The girl Libby and the boy Gary Fraser came in, and they did a talk to the team as a group and shared some stuff, and I think it helped. And you know, if one player for that group or two, whatever it would be, then turned out for help for them, you know, it's been worthwhile. So, you know, there's obviously these organisations like back on side that do a power of work in that area and know way more than I'll ever know about that kind of stuff. So no, you're definitely right. Really sad about Ricky Hatton. You know, somebody that, like my box myself, and you know, probably us growing up, watched him in his big fights, and he was a big thing at that time, and you know, and by all accounts, he was a decent guy as well. So, really sad news.
Yep, absolutely. Okay, I did count up the goals in the games in the South Challenge Cup, including all the fixtures. Basically, 61 fixtures, 279 goals across 61 fixtures, averages 4.6 goals a game. Now I know we've got 16 in one game, which maybe sent the average up a bit, but 4.6 goals per game, always value for money in the west of Scotland across the board. Should be back to we've got Scottish Junior Cup action next week, and then we've got a couple of league games, so we'll be back on track. But thanks to everybody that has tuned in, and your comments and engagement is much appreciated. Remember, if you are watching this video, please hit the like button and subscribe to the Pyramid Promotions channel. If you're listening on audio form, please download the episode and rate and review on your podcast networks. Thanks to Roxburgh Insurance Brokers, GLA Chauffeurs, and of course VSN Sport for sponsoring the show. And I will see you next weekend, Sunday at 7 p.m. Cheers.